Hello everyone. Thank you for stopping by my YouTube channel, Get Crafty with Sally. My name is Sally Poole. I am a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Albany, Oregon. Welcome. Today I am going to be making this card with this cute little fox on it. It is from the pack of designers series paper called Autumn Toile. I've always called it Toile, T-O-I-L-E, but it's French and we don't pronounce it like they do. There's no way I could say it like they said it on Google. So they said Americans say toile. So I'm going to try to remember that. I'm sure I probably won't. So let me show you some of the paper really quick. They're beautiful papers. I really like this one with the deer on it. This is the back of it. And then there's this mossy meadow one with pheasants and looks like little waterways, little rocky islands and trees. And then this is the back of that one. And then there's also this fabulous pumpkin piece, and that's the back of it. And then here is the wonderful fox piece and the back of it. They do come, I think there's three of each pieces. Of course, you know, you have to consider front and back. You don't get three of each front and back. It does go with this bundle called Autumn Trees, which I'm not really using today, but you could. There is a super neat tree that you can use, and I love this little deer die. There's also, here's the little deer that you can cut out. I'm not sure if it cuts out the ones on the designer series paper or not. And then here's some little trees. This cuts out leaves for this big tree. I haven't played with these dies yet, but I will. So we're just using the paper today. And I needed a card for my grandson. He's turning 17 in a few days. Good grief. The little baby grandson. And I had something else in my mind that I was going to make, and somehow it morphed into this. And I really like it. I am not very good at making masculine looking cards, but I think this one is masculine looking, and I do like the way that it turned out. I did do it as a top fold. You can do it either way. So let's take a look at what you're going to need to make this. I've got all of the measurements here and the colors. I've used Berry Vanilla, Early Espresso, and Cajun Craze. I don't think that it matches perfectly with the designer series paper. Maybe my pack is really old, I don't know, but it's good enough. And also, if you're not particularly fond of the striped piece that I put behind there, you could certainly use either these brown squares or these little dashy thingies, but I kind of like this. So you can either grab a screenshot of this, or as always, I will have a PDF link located down below this video in the description box. So one more thing, or two more things as one thing I want to mention. I have mentioned several times in my videos Quickie Glue, the little Quickie glue pen that I always use to adhere my dazzling diamonds. And I keep saying sometimes you can find them on Amazon. Well, I looked on Amazon last night and couldn't find it. But if you do a Google search, one of the listings that comes up in the Google search says Amazon, and it actually does take you to a page on Amazon with these quickie glue pens. I will put a link down below the video that goes to this. It looks like you can also get them through Walmart. I don't know if they have them at the store. You might have to order them. I think Simon Says Stamps has them, and a couple other craft stores. And then the other thing, I know Stampin' Up! Doesn't carry their little snips anymore. And while I was looking at the quickie glue, I noticed this EK Tools Cutter Bee pack of 4 of the little scissors that I use all the time. And I love these. I have the Stampin' Up! Ones, and I like these better. It says they're made in China. I suppose most of the little snips are. Anyway, these are 46% off right now. They are $9.99 for a pack of 4 scissors. They don't have the little shield. I'm not sure what it's called. The little plastic thing that you can slide the end in. That's the only difference I see. So I'll also put a link for this. Of course, I am not affiliated with Amazon. I don't get anything if you click on the link that I'm posting and buy something. I don't even know how that works. So anyway, hopefully that helps if you're looking for the quickie glue pen, or if you're looking for some new scissors. You can give those little Cutter Bee snips a try. Okay. I think that was all I was going to say. So let's scoot these out of the way and we'll get started on this card. And we've got our base, which is 4 1/4 by 11. I've scored it at 5 1/2, and it's very vanilla. The Very Vanilla is one of the colors in the paper. You could probably use white. I haven't held this piece of Designer Series paper up against the white. It actually does look like it matches this, but when you look at it, it looks like white. So there is our card base. And then we can take our 3 3/4 by 5 Cajun Craze piece, and our 3 7/8 by 5 1/8 early espresso. You need 2 of those. There's one for the front, and I am putting cardstock on the inside of the card if I can remember to do it at the end, because I never do it on my videos. So let's take our green glue, which is not really green, it's just in a green bottle made by Tombow. You can either use glue or you can use a tape runner. So let's adhere that to the early espresso piece. And then we can adhere these to our card base. Make sure that it opens at the bottom. I don't think I did that very straight. Okay. And these, the early espresso and the Cajun craze, are a little smaller than I usually do my back layers, but I wanted that very vanilla to show a little bit. So there's that. So the next thing that we're going to do, I am going to take my 4x5 inch piece of very vanilla, which is going to turn into this little piece with the corners cut out. And then my 1 3/8 by 5 designer series paper and my 1.5 by 5 early espresso. I'm going to grab my chair so I can glue these. I really, really, really love this piece of paper with the foxes on it. I just think foxes are so darn cute anyway. So we will adhere the designer series paper piece to the early espresso piece, and then we will adhere those to our very vanilla piece. And I'm going to have to stand up again and make sure I get this straight. So I am going to line my very vanilla piece up on my grid paper, and I'm going to scoot this over about, I'm going to have 3, I always call them blocks, 3 rows of those little squares, and then I'm going to lay it down. So then I am going to take, if I can find it, I have this awesome new die set called Branching Out Dies. Look at those. Aren't they great? This comes in a bundle. I did not get the stamp set. I really didn't care for it, but I'm sure I'm going to use these dies a lot, and I will keep them forever. Who knows, I might see projects done with the stamp set, and then I'll have to get it too. I do usually like to have the bundles. So we're going to take the second largest die and take it out of here, and I'll kind of show you where I put it. I'm going to lay it on this piece, and I don't know if you can see this or not. Maybe I can hold it up. I'm going to try to get the designer series paper kind of close to this bottom of this little corner and the top. Doesn't have to be right on, but that is about where I want it to go. So you run that through your die cutting machine, and you'll end up with this. And I don't know if you can see this or not, but once I cut this, I ran it through with the Evergreen Forest 3D embossing folder. Hope I'm not making you sick. So, can you see that embossing on there? I just think it adds a lot, even though we're going to cover a lot of this up. So now let's take our embossed, differently shaped piece. It's kind of like those, you remember the little punches that cut the corners out? I loved those. I used to use them all the time, but I think the one I had was little tiny, and sometimes it didn't work very well. So let's lay this on our card front and get it as straight and even as we can. Give that a press. And then let's see if I can find this fox paper. There are just a few, maybe 4 or 5 of the fox that is, let's see if I can get it in here, sitting this way with his little tail curled up like that under that big tree. That's the one I've used for this. So I normally, I'll find one on the paper. You can, if you want, take your, I've cut it out with the stitched shape second largest circle die. If you want to lay it on the piece that you're going to cut out, depending on the die that you're going to use, this one, it cuts right in the center. So if you lay that down on, I'm going to call it an image, and you can draw around that with a pencil and then just cut it out with your little snips. Then you can go cut it with the die. That way you'll use the least amount of that designer series paper that you can. You can also use Spotlight on Nature dies, circles. And I actually used it for the layer that's underneath the fox layer. And I didn't go through all my dies, but these couple caught my eye. Everyday Details has some circles in it that you can use. And hopefully I'm not telling you things that cut an edge and cut the middle out. And then these old layering circles framelits dies. So let's take I guess I should show you this. The Early Espresso, I cut out with the Spotlight on Nature's dies, and I used this third from the largest with just the lined edges. So let's put a little bit of glue on our fox piece. And try to get that centered on this other circle. And then we'll put some glue on the back of that. And we'll adhere it to the front of the card. And I'm not putting it directly in the center of the Very Vanilla piece. I'm going to scoot it over towards the left. And I'm kind of trying to make sure that the fox's little feet are level. Okay, so now I have stamped Happy Birthday from Attention Shoppers. I thought that fit really good. And then I used my favorite rectangle stitched framelits dies. I used the smallest one in this grouping. Again, it's one of those that my sentiment was a good bit shorter than the die. You can cut it out with the entire die if you want. But I did do the tape it down on one side, run it part way through, take the die off, put the die on the other end, run the other end through. So I got a little bit shorter piece. And if you look about 2 or 3 videos, probably 3 videos ago, I do show just that process if you want to go take a look at it. So let's put some glue on the back of our sentiment piece. And we will adhere that to the early espresso piece. And I used colors that were listed on the Designer Series paper pack. You don't have to for this particular card. I brought out a bunch of other, let's see, a bunch of other papers. You could probably use soft suede. Of course, Mossy Meadow is one. Pebbled Path would probably work. Cinnamon Cider might be okay. Copper Clay looks good too. So don't just think that you're stuck with what's listed on the paper pack. Dig through what you've got and see what you like the best. So I'm going to take my little dimensional sheet and I'm just going to cut a little corner off. So we're going to pop this up a little bit. And I got a little ant crawling across the counter. I am going to put that on this little bottom corner, and I'll put a big dimensional over on the right side. We'll pull those covers off, and I'm going to add a little bit of glue in the middle here. It doesn't really matter. I'm not even sure that it's going to touch anything. And then I am just going to line this up kind of underneath that fox, not centering it either. In fact, this is going more over to the right. So you can kind of line it up here, and you can kind of line it up with the lines on that Designer Series paper piece. So what do you think of that so far? So now we are going to add, and I did go through all my embellishments, and I have some Neutrals adhesive back sequins. I forgot to look at the website, but I'm pretty sure these are retired. And I am using the brown, not sure what color it is. I'm just going to take one of these smaller ones. These are sequins. And I'll put it right there by the happy. And another small one. And I'll put it up here. And then a bigger one. And I'm going to set it over here. And so the last thing we're going to do is we're going to take our piece of early espresso and our 3 3/4 by 5 piece of Fairy Vanilla. We are going to adhere these and glue them to the inside. You could, if you want, you could cut a little strip of the Designer Series paper. I can't talk and glue at the same time, evidently. Cut a skinny little strip and maybe put it over here. I don't think I would put it that way. Or you could stamp one of the little images. You could cut that other little deer out if you want. I think I'm just going to leave it like this. I think that's fine, dandy, and classy enough that way. So let's put some glue on this. Open our card up. And center this. Makes a super pretty writing space on the inside of the card. So that is the card for today. What do you think of it? I really like it, and I hope my grandson likes it. So if you are enjoying my videos, getting anything out of them, please give me the thumbs up, hit the like button, share my video with your friends and family. I appreciate those of you that do that and then let me know. And if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please do so. It helps my channel grow. I really appreciate you stopping by and spending some time with me today. I hope you like this project. I hope you love the fox paper like I do. And I will see you next time. Bye.